Well, welcome to the People of Dubai podcast. In front of me, I have the beautiful co-host, Annie.
Hi!
To my side, I have Becky Jefferies, who is a travel influencer and content creator and also a tech founder.
Recently, yes. So
Welcome.
nice to meet you. I'm really happy to be here. This is my first podcast ever.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I feel quite honoured, actually.
Yeah. And Becky, you look incredible. Can you tell the listeners what you have experienced today?
Yes. Well, thank you for that. I started my day, left the house, very jet lagged because I landed in Dubai late last night off of a 14-hour flight from the US. Didn't sleep very well, got up, had to go to a meeting. Thought that this was an audio-only recording. So I went to the meeting with my airport hair, hat on, sweats. I messaged Holly from my meeting, which was running a little bit late, realizing that if I wanted to, I didn't have time to go all the way back home to shower and clean up before coming here. So I said, is it all right if I come looking a little bit sloppy? Here's what's happened today. And she said, actually, there's going to be a video recording as well. So
A very close one.
Right.
With 3 cameras, all different angles.
I'm half an hour away from home. I'm at a mall. Don't have time to run back. So I went to the salon downstairs at the mall, got a blowout, ran up to Sephora, put a little bit of makeup on my face, pretending like I was shopping for makeup, went to H&M, got a top and a bra to change into, changed in the mall bathroom.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
I came here.
This is the life of a travel influencer, literally straight off the plane.
Yeah, it's what it feels like. I think I would never have, 10 years ago, before I started really traveling, I would not have been able to do that. I would have.
Also an entrepreneur as well, because you basically got put in a situation and you just made the best out of it.
Yeah, you have to improvise.
Improvise. That is a perfect
Think
example.
Think fast, like move quickly and just get it done. Whatever has to
Your
happen.
hair looks fab, by the way. The
Thank you.
listeners can't see it, but it's very bouncy.
It was a risk because sometimes if someone hasn't done your hair before,
Yeah, that is
you don't know how it's gonna go. But
Yeah, looking good, girl. And nice to
you.
meet you. And thank you for coming on our show.
thank you
So-
for having me.
Becky, you've traveled to 72 countries. Is that
I have.
right?
Yes, I can't believe it.
Why, like, I don't know, I suppose, how did you start? Where did the traveling bug come from?
Yeah, the funny thing is, traveling has only been a really big part of my life since I would say my mid-20s. I grew up in a very small town, super simple, humble upbringing. And I think for the first 16 years of my life, my family didn't really go on vacation outside my home state of Maryland. Like same summer trip to the beach every year, which I loved. And I had a really happy childhood. And I was 16 when I got a passport. And even then, we got the passports because we were doing like a cruise around the Caribbean. So it wasn't even that far. We weren't even getting on a plane. So fast forward to post-college, I had moved to Milwaukee, which was kind of across the country. And I was working in a multinational corporate job in a global capacity. So through that first job I had out of college, I started getting not just exposure to people in other countries. I was working with teams in Mexico, Brazil, China, Korea, Germany. It was so exciting to me. But I then started traveling a little bit for work as well. So I think Germany was the first overseas trip I took for work. And
was it?
I was beside myself. Like I got a business class seat. This was, a big meeting. I was going to meet all of my international colleagues face to face. So that was sort of my first taste of it. And then over the years, I got more travel opportunities and got to go to all of those places. And I just got the bug. And after a few years of that, I kind of learned the ropes of this is how it works. This is how you navigate the airport. This is what it's like when you get overseas. And then I became more comfortable traveling on my own for personal reasons. So I remember in my mid-20s, I took a girls' trip to Asia. And we went to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Japan. And it was that trip that really had an impact on me. And I came back from it, and I remember having dinner at a Thai restaurant back in our hometown with my best friend. And I told her, I can't stay here. I have to keep doing this. I have to get overseas because that with the vacation time you have as an American early in your career.
It's very limited, isn't it?
It's very limited, like 2
days.
weeks.
Yeah.
And isn't there a stat that Americans don't actually, that there's a huge percentage of Americans that don't actually leave America because it's so big?
They don't have
Yeah.
a passport.
Yeah.
Well, you got your
It's-
passport at 16 years old, which is, for me, I don't know, like I had like a baby passport.
Yeah, you
I
get
think,
one as soon as you're born.
as soon as you're born in the UK.
Yeah.
It's
I think
crazy.
it's on this side of the world, especially being in Dubai with so many expats, it's kind of unheard of to get a passport that late in life, but it's really not that uncommon for Americans. So, I mean, I think there's a large percentage of Americans today, like as adults, that don't have passports. It's fairly normal.
It's so big though. But you
Yeah.
sorry, so you were in a restaurant with your friend and you were like, I just
Yeah.
need to leave and I need to travel.
Yeah, I remember that conversation so clearly because I had a great life. I was happy with my job, loved my team, loved my friends, like loved the lifestyle that I was living, but I just felt I needed to get out. And at that same time, I had a wonderful boss who was encouraging me to do my MBA. And I sort of put the pieces together and I realized if I'm going to pause my career to do my MBA, this is my chance to get out of the US. So I think that was in the spring. By September of that year, I had applied for international programs, got accepted to the school I wanted in Spain, and I had packed up my things and moved to Spain by December of that year.
That's amazing. You
How-
don't do things by halves,
No.
do you?
Yeah, I mean, and I, like, at the beginning of that process, I remember thinking, am I really going to do this? It, like, one thing happened after another, and I just kept taking one step forward, and then soon enough, I was there. And I
why
had never...
Spain?
It's a great question. There were a few things that played a role in it. One was just finding the right school. So it was the school that I went to was called IE Business School, and it was at the time one of the top 10 MBA programs in the world. And I had always felt, even though I had never been to Spain, there was something about it that I thought I would love. I had always wanted to travel there. And so looking at like finding the right school in a country that I had a lot of interest in, plus I had a background in Spanish, it just felt right. Like I was trusting my gut on that one. I really didn't know, but I trusted my gut, and it ended up being such a phenomenal experience.
And moving, like before you were moving, how did you feel? Were you kind of excited, nervous, apprehensive, or did you just feel like you were just going on holiday?
I was so excited. I was so excited, but I was also, I had told myself and told everybody in my life, I'm going to go do this for 1 year. It was a 1-year program, and I'm going to come right back. So when I was moving out of my apartment in Milwaukee, I just put my stuff in storage, and I left thinking I'm going to come right back and just pick up with my life. But that obviously isn't what happened. I think I was 2 weeks in after having landed in Madrid, and I knew I wasn't coming back. That was it. It was such a great start, and already in that short time, I felt like my life had just done a 180, and I was so happy, and like living the life that I wanted to be living for so long.
Amazing.
And I just knew so early on that I wasn't going back.
I really resonate with that because when I moved to Dubai, I said to my friends, I'm going for a year, I'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I'd done the year, I just thought, well, why do I want to go back? Like, obviously, I miss my family and friends, and you can relate to that. And so can you, Holly, and so can every expat listening to this podcast. And you do miss your home comforts. You do miss the people that you know, that are your like nearest and dearest. But there is that kind of element of this is my new life now, and I'm really enjoying it. And, you know, you just don't know what's kind of around the corner.
Yeah.
Do you find that? Did you kind of feel like that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. But I also wonder if maybe we tell ourselves that to make it's such a big step to move away from home or to move to another country. And I wonder if
The transition.
it's something that we tell ourselves just to make the transition feel easier.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's funny. I say that with a few people who have left Dubai, and I say you can always come back to Dubai. But it's like, do you just say that to rip the Band-Aid off easier?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I look back as well and I think if I was now my age, would I have done the big leap of moving away? And I don't know whether it was like being younger and more naive and just having less fear and like less worried about, you're not as worried about the unknown as, I don't know, back then. So you've been in Dubai now for 6 years?
6 years. Yes. Coming up on 6 years in May.
And have you got any kind of thoughts to move back home, or are you kind of settled here?
I'm so settled. Yeah. And there's so much to love about Dubai. But for me, I've found, especially in recent years, it's also important to get out often to stay grounded. Life is just so surreal here. It's extravagant. It's so easy compared to so many other places. And it's also, it's kind of easy to get swept up in the, how do I put this? I really don't like it when people say that Dubai is so superficial, because I think there's a really authentic side to it and there's really good people here, but there is still sort of that like materialistic, artificial side of it. And it can be easy to get swept up in it and kind of lose your sense of what's really important to you and like just the values. And there was a point where I felt like I'm kind of getting caught up in that. And these are things that have never been important to me. Like my values have always been so important to me. Like I said, I grew up with very humble upbringings, and I always wanted to stay true to who I am inside. And the moment that I realized I might be losing myself a little bit and kind of like getting too far away from that, I need to like go home or live a humbling experience.
Yeah.
And
that's supposed to be part of traveling as well, because I think that's what makes you really humble and see things from a different perspective. But I don't think you can also, going back to your point, it's like, I know Dubai can be quite materialistic, but the nickname is land of milk and honey, right? So it's hard not to be. But I think as well, you can blame anything, but if you keep true to your roots and your morals, then that will never change.
Exactly.
So it's true. Just keeping grounded, basically, and traveling does that for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's and the fact that I'm able to do that so often helps to balance that out. So I am settled here, and I don't have any plans to move home or to move anywhere else. But as long as I'm able to balance that with, I would say, more real, more humbling experiences that I get through traveling.
What brought you to Dubai?
It was very random. It was never on my radar. And coming out of the MBA program in Spain, all I knew was I don't want to go back to the US. I didn't have my sights necessarily set on a specific place. I would have loved to stay in Spain because I absolutely fell in love with it there. And I initially started looking at different places in Europe, which seemed really, like I was loving the European lifestyle. But it's really hard if you don't have an EU passport. So I realized after a few months, I was not seriously job hunting like full time. I was still traveling a little bit and, like making the most of the MBA budget that I had. So I extended a little bit. But then, I was like casually job hunting. And when I realized that somewhere in Europe was going to be more of an uphill battle, I was like, okay, maybe I should look at Singapore or somewhere else that's a little bit easier. And I had friends in the program with me that were living in Dubai before they moved to Madrid, and then came back to the same jobs. And they said, come visit, see if you like it, just spend a few weeks with us. So I did. And everything kind of fell into place so quickly. I knew, coming from a corporate career background, I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to go back to a large kind of slow-paced multinational. I wanted to do tech. I wanted to get into the startup scene. So I found a lot of opportunity there in Dubai, and I happened to get a job interview at Uber during the time that I was visiting. And in that period, I did the interviews, had some case studies to do, and then ended up getting the job, I was very, very lucky because I was changing geographies. I had no experience in the region at all. I knew nothing about the Middle East. and they say when you're in your career, you can change one thing. It can be geographies, it can be industries, or I think function is the other thing that you can change. Anyway, I was changing a lot of things at one time, and I was really lucky that boss took a chance on me, and it ended up being such a phenomenal career experience. It was by far the best place that I've ever worked. All of my friends, my close friends in Dubai, are people that were my colleagues there.
Oh, I love that. That was your finding, really. That was like, it was meant to be. I do believe that, like, when you get a job or something happened when you first moved to Dubai, it might be kind of like even where you live or who you meet, joining a club or something like that. It's like, it's meant to be.
I really felt like it was. And it just fell into place so nicely. It was exactly the job that I wanted. And then I landed in a group of people that was so fantastic. I'm still very close with them. My Dubai family, 90% of them are people that were my colleagues at Uber.
That's amazing. You found your tribe.
And we do also say Dubai is the land of opportunities. Like, you do get given so many opportunities here, don't we? And we've said that so much on our podcast.
Yeah.
So,
it's so true.
Going back to all the traveling then. So Becky's in Dubai. She's arrived and you've been here for 6 years. But obviously it's an amazing hub. It's close to so many countries. So how did your kind of like, the traveling begin? So obviously 72 countries is...
That's a lot of air miles.
I know. And oddly enough, the bulk of that has been in the last few years since I got here. So I remember doing my MBA application, I had to tell them how many countries I had been to by that point. And it was 18. The number was 18 when I left the US, which I was like, well, I'm really killing it. I thought I'm like way ahead of the game, but it's nothing compared to where I've been now. But yeah, so I think by the end of that time in Spain, because it's so easy to travel around Europe, I think I was somewhere around 30 by then, because I went to a lot of places in Europe and visited Morocco and even Egypt for the first time. So got a lot that year, but then since I've been to Dubai, it's just been on another level.
But you've already, I think you had quite a high number at a young age. Like I'm 30 this year and I want to get to 30 countries and I'm on 24. And it's my dad's 60th and he wants to go to Spain and I'm trying to convince him to go to another country because it's going to help.
You've already been there?
Because it's going to help my count.
I think so selfish. I'm the same. Like when I get invited somewhere, I'm like, if it's somewhere I've been already, I'm like, damn.
Can we go somewhere new?
I know. The world's a big place.
I'm always very conscious of that too.
Yeah. So where's your favourite? If you've got one.
Oh, yeah, this is such a hard question to answer because I realize I do get asked this question a lot. And there are a lot of places that I've fallen in love with. Like I love Spain. It's so near and dear to my heart. This past year, I did South America for the first time, and I really fell in love with Colombia. That's very special to me. Egypt, I have just a special place in my heart for Egypt as well. But I've realized that it's not so much the country itself or the city itself that I fall in love with. It's usually the particular experience that I have in that place with certain people. Whatever it is that I've lived, it's usually just a specific experience. And I won't always have that same experience if I go back to the same place. So I guess a good example of that is Yemen. That was a place I never imagined traveling to. And there's an island off of the mainland called Socotra. And I went there in early last year. And it was a really phenomenal place, like very, very raw. Not a lot of people can travel there. It's been closed off for a long time. And I think now there's like once a week flight from Abu Dhabi to get there. But it was so, so special to me because of the people that were with us. Like every single day was really special and like impactful in that I wasn't expecting to be able to connect with someone that lives in a place like that. And like we landed at the airport and the guides that greeted us, like they're dressed in like their local dress, nothing like what we wear. It's like rags almost. And I remember thinking like, oh, like this is a really cool thing, but like probably not even going to be able to communicate with each other. Well, I was so wrong about that. These guys, I mean, they mostly speak Arabic, but we had some Arabic speakers with us enough to like allow everyone to communicate enough. But we had so much fun every single day and night. Like when we were driving in their 4x4s around the island, like windows down, music blasting, we're dancing all day long. At night, we had bonfires, dancing around the bonfires together. Like the way that we connected, it was unbelievable. And like it was those people and that shared experience that had such a profound impact on me that made that one of my favorite trips that I've ever taken. But I think if I were to go back, different group of people might have different guides.
It won't be the same.
It wouldn't be the same.
No. Yeah.
And you didn't have high expectations as well, maybe. Going somewhere that you've never been to before and not many other people have been.
Yeah.
You can't share and say, oh, what do you recommend or what do I do here? So you literally were going in completely blind to what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think those experiences, you said, keeps you grounded.
So grounded. And, you know, it was just one of those times where I was like, you know what? We are such different people living completely opposite lives. But
You're having
at the
fun
end
together.
of the day, like we're all human. Like we are actually all the same.
Yeah.
We like seeing them like joke around with each other and like give each other shit for stuff. And it's like, they're just like us.
Yeah.
And just because of like where they live or like how they dress, it's so easy to write that off. It was very humbling. I cried when I left the airport. Or when I was getting to the airport. It just really, really impacted me a lot. And I would love to go back because it's such a special place, but I'm afraid to go try to repeat that because it was so special the way that I kind of want to just leave it that way and not tarnish it.
You speak so passionately about the places you've been and experiences. And I remember when I reached out to you months ago now, and you literally blew me away from when we first started talking. I was like, I love you to be on the podcast, so on and so on. But you were actually raising money to send a group of people to Argentina.
Yes.
Which you've just come back from.
Yes, just got back from
And
that
that's
trip.
purely about experiences for them to travel and experience what you've experienced, basically.
Exactly. Yes. And
how did that come about?
Yeah. So I guess it goes back to not that long ago. First of all, travel has had a very profound impact on my life. I think, as soon as I started getting exposure to other cultures and other countries, I realized how much I didn't know about the rest of the world and just how limited my perspective was. Having grown up in a small town with all white people, there was no diversity. And I just had the more I traveled, the more I realized how little I knew. And it really humbled me, and it made me a more accepting, tolerant person. I just learned and grew so much from it. And when I started traveling a lot and getting a larger following on social media, I started getting messages from a lot of young Arabs in particular. And I guess it was that probably stemmed from the fact that 80% of my audience is from Egypt. And then other countries that are big on my list are UAE, Saudi, Jordan, even Tunisia. So the majority of my following is Arab. And I would get messages from people saying, I really hope I can visit places like this one day. I can't afford to travel right now, but I wish to see the world like you have been. And I just I just became hyper aware of the fact that this is such an incredible privilege, not just because I can afford it, but also because of my passport. And having a lot of Arabs in my life, Arab friends, and a significant other, I know how hard it can be for them to just get the visa. And this actually, there's a connection to the Argentina trip that's visa related that I'll talk about. But I remember realizing one day, not everyone gets to do this. I'm very, very lucky. And I want to help people that don't have access to this, particularly financially. I want to help other people see the world the way that I have been, because a lot of people don't have that privilege. So at the time, I remember voicing that a few years back for the first time. And when I said it, I thought like later in my life. But I guess it was early last year, a company reached out to me. They work with travel influencers to like that person is to become a community leader, and they like pick an itinerary and then promote the trip and get people to travel with them. So when they reached out to me, at first it kind of seemed too good to be true. It was like, it sounds cool, but like, what's the catch? And I learned more about it, and I ended up getting in touch with a few other travel influencers who had done trips with them that like verified it. And they were like, yeah, this is how it works. I had a good experience. It's legit. So I decided, okay, this is a really cool thing I think I want to do, but this could be the perfect opportunity to do that thing that I really wanted to do and pay it forward. So when I got back to them, I said, yes, I will do this. I will become a community leader and like host a trip for you, but I really want to do this charity element. So I will only do it if you support me in that. And the idea was to raise money so that 3 of the seats in my group trip could be sponsored.
Incredible.
So I was going to raise money myself with their support also, and helping to push it.
So how many of you went to Argentina?
So we were 11. We were supposed to be a group of 12, but this is the visa thing that I was mentioning before. One of the 3 people that I had selected to sponsor. So I actually had a long application process. I promoted it a lot on social media, and I collected applications. So there was a form to be filled out, like lots of Q&A, because I wanted to make sure I was finding someone who not only could demonstrate like a real financial need and who had not had the opportunity to travel outside of their country, but someone who would genuinely get a lot out of the experience.
Absolutely.
And take it to heart and really grow from it. So,
and hopefully do again for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was that written application, and then I had them submit videos as well, talking about what travel would mean to them. So it was honestly such a hard decision, because there were a lot of really, really heartfelt applications, and like it was a painstaking process trying to like whittle it down to 3 people. There were so many deserving people. Anyway, I ended up there was 2 Egyptians, a girl and a guy, I think mid-20s, and then a guy from Pakistan, who this guy, he's a mountain guide in Pakistan. So he loves nature, loves the outdoors, and he's constantly hosting people from all over the world on outdoor trips, but he's never left Pakistan. So I was really excited to have him join the trip, but he ended up not getting the visa.
Oh no.
So it was devastating for him more than anything, but I mean,
oh my God, my
heart broke for
yeah.
him. So, and I mean, he was packed. He had been taking Spanish classes in preparation for the trip. And like we started the visa process so long ago. The trip was in late Feb, and I think it was early December where he like submitted the paperwork, got his first appointment, and it didn't work out. He ended up never hearing back from the embassy. Like He didn't even get a rejection letter, just complete darkness.
I feel like there could be hope though. There'll be another country that he'll one day be able to visit, hopefully.
Yeah. I'm sure it will happen for him, but
It will. I hope so. Especially because he meets so many other people and guide them and hear about where they come from.
Yeah.
So
now I'm kind of I'm seeing what money I can get back, because that was, like at this point, it was just entirely a sunk cost, and people donated, and I want to make sure that I'm responsible with that money. So I'm trying to get some of the money back from the trip as well as the flight. And if I'm able to, I'll donate it in some way. The flight was with Turkish Airlines, so if I can get reimbursed for it, I'll donate it back to the earthquake fund.
Oh wow.
Fingers crossed.
How did you do the sponsoring? And so how did you raise the money?
So it was tricky, because in the UAE, you can't fundraise without a permit. It's very hard to do fundraising here. I actually, I had this little window of time last year where I quit my job and was leaving the UAE. So I was no longer a resident, and I was taking a sabbatical for 4 months away from the country. So technically I wasn't a resident and I wasn't based here. So I took that time I started the GoFundMe page and I talked about it a lot on social media.
Wow.
And like I tried to just push it as much as possible while I was outside of the UAE, because I knew that it would be a lot more challenging when I got back here.
And you did it. You managed to take 3 people and then the others on the trip as well. And how was it?
It was so special. I've never led a group trip before, and generally I'm not a fan of group travel. So I was very nervous going into this experience. Like, there's 11 people. It was supposed to be 12, but now 11 people coming from all over the world. They're strangers to me. They don't know each other. I don't know anything about them. And the only reason they know about this is because they follow me. And this was actually the first time I had ever really met any of my followers too. So there were so many new experiences that were part of this. And I was nervous about, are they going to enjoy this? Are they going to connect? Is it going to be too many people to travel with? Like, just so many unknowns. And I also was really stressed out about some of the logistics. So I was like telling myself in the days leading up to it, like, I don't think I ever want to do this again. Like, this is just, it's too stressful, too much. Like, I was just, I don't know, I was like feeling a little bit low about it. But day one, I was so blown away by this group of people and the level of excitement and positivity and how quickly everybody connected. And I continued to be blown away every single day of the trip. And it was such a beautiful experience for everyone. Way beyond my imagination.
I saw your social media when you landed and just said just how incredible the trip was. And it's fulfilling for you as well. You've put so much of your time and effort into it. And to be able to come away and just see that what you've just done for loads of people.
Yeah, well, to think you went to Germany by yourself for work, your first trip, and then now you're taking 12 people, 11 people to Argentina.
Yeah, it was honestly, I still can't wrap my head around the way that it all panned out. There was no negativity. There were no, like, everything went so smoothly. And we had people from all different places, different ages, like very different walks of life that came together and loved each other. And the bonding that happened was so phenomenal. And everybody left with new friends that I'm sure that they're already making plans to visit each other.
I was going to ask that, whether they've all kept in contact.
Yes. That, like, it's just, this is one of the things I love most about travel. It's the way that it can bond people together, and someone that you would maybe never connect with outside of a trip.
And you have it in common that you're both in this country at the same time. I think I still have people that I met on holiday like 10 years ago on my Facebook. I see they're having a baby. I'm like, oh, met you a week ago. Like, met you for a week 7 years ago.
But there's something about just having these shared experiences. And it wasn't just like we met them at the pool bar for a day and had a fun night out. Like, we spent 9-10 whole days together.
You got to know people really well, didn't you?
Yeah.
And would you do it again?
I absolutely would.
Yay!
I came into it thinking like, this is the last time, but I can't wait to do it again. It was so rewarding. It was so rewarding.
I feel like you might need a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, a little bit.
And then
I got work to do. I have a real job.
That's actually what I was going to dive into. So apart from traveling, and that's your passion, but you are a tech founder and an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And we want to know how that started, especially in Dubai, in such a thriving city. So you obviously had some time off out of work, then you raised money, and then on the side, you were building Alfie?
Yeah. So work is, I feel like I have like two very different sides of my life. But I think that there are a lot of people who follow me on social media that don't think I have a real job, which is, I kind of get defensive about it a little bit, because I don't want people to think, it's like as hard as I work and like I pour a lot of myself into my job, I don't want people to think that I'm just like living this frilly lifestyle where I'm just getting free hotel stays here and there and jet setting around the world and having fun. Like, there's a very different side of that as well. And for the last 6 years since I've been in Dubai, I've been in the tech and startup scene. And first few years I was here, I was working for Uber in marketing, and then kind of gotten earlier and earlier stage as I've gone through the last couple of years. Worked for an early stage fintech, and then I was working at an incubator where I partnered with founders that were brought in to build and launch their brands. So for the last 6 years, essentially, I have been helping other people build their companies. And I pour a lot of myself into work. I put a lot of hours in, and you end up making a lot of sacrifices. You sacrifice your own relationships. Sometimes you sacrifice your health, and it can be very consuming. You pour a lot of yourself into your job. And after a work experience, it was, to put it delicately, it was a toxic situation, and I kind of gone too far in terms of the toll that it was taking on my life. And I had no free time. I was overworked. I had gotten sick, and I couldn't recover from it because I think the stress was so much. It was taking a significant toll on my mental health. So at the tail end of that, I think things kind of came to a head at one point where when I got sick, I also developed a heart condition, and that really scared me. I remember a few months prior to that, I was interviewing someone for a job, and this guy had told me I was in XYZ job before this, and I had to leave that and switch because I developed a permanent heart issue, and now I can't exercise. No, I don't remember what it was, but it was the stress had caused him permanent damage to his health. And
stress is such a big.
The guy was like,
it's the worst.
I mean, it's really I think for a long time I underestimated what stress could do to you.
Yeah.
But I remember being so affected by this guy I was speaking to over Zoom. He looked to be about my age, and just from what I could tell, he was a fit guy. But here he was telling me I have now a permanent heart issue because of my work stress. And when I got to that point where I was really sick, I was mentally in a bad place. I couldn't recover from my sickness, and I had a heart issue. It really scared me. And I was like, this is enough. I cannot continue to put myself in this situation, especially when it's not even for me. Like, this is for other people's companies. So it was like coming out of that experience that I just decided I'm not doing that for other people again. And I didn't know at the time what it was going to look like for me. I was open to the idea of being a founder or starting my own thing or just being a freelancer. But all I knew was like, I'm not going to go back to working for other people again.
Health is wealth, as they say.
Yeah. And it's just not worth it. It's your health. It's not worth compromising it for anything.
So then Alfie was born.
Yeah. So long story short, I was just coming out of that work experience, and I had a cold LinkedIn message from a guy that I normally like delete these things, but something about this particular message stuck with me a little bit, and I thought, maybe I should entertain this. So I replied. The guy was working for a tech company, and he wanted to talk to me about a marketing position. I knew at that time, like, I'm not going to go work for somebody else. Like, this is so far from what I want to be doing right now because I had just resigned from my other job. But I just thought, let me see what this guy has to say. And I entertained the conversation. We met in person, and he told me about this opportunity. I told him where I was at and that I had a sabbatical coming up, and I'm going to be gone for 4 months. I'll be back in the fall. This was like around March of last year. And we kind of agreed, it's not going to work right now, but let's stay in touch. We really clicked. And it was, the main reason that I wanted to even continue the conversation was because I liked him. And that's something that's really important to me and where I take my career is like having shared values, like similar mindsets, liking the people and being able to connect with the people that you work with.
Yeah. You actually see more of your work colleagues or someone you work with, as sad as it sounds, but more than what you see like your family sometimes.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Especially in Dubai, it's a very work hard, play hard city, which is part of it. So having that standard, I think most people should have that. That's the lesson I learned.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's super important.
Yeah.
So that was kind of why I left the door open in the first place. I just liked him, and like we really, we clicked very well when we first met. So fast forward to a few more conversations right before I left for my sabbatical. He wanted to meet face to face again, and in that conversation, he said, "I actually decided to leave the company that I've been with. I have this idea. I'm going to pursue it. I really, really believe in this idea." And he kind of pitched it to me, explained like the problem that he wanted to solve, and then closed the conversation with, "And I'd like you to consider being my co-founder."
Wow. I bet you weren't expecting that the first
I
message
wasn't.
you had received.
I didn't see it coming at all, but I just, at that point, I still, like I was, I think a week away from leaving for my sabbatical. And like, that was the last thing on my mind. And I still felt like I can't close the door on this. I really like this guy. And I actually really believe in this problem that he's explaining to me, like the business that he wants to build. I'm very convinced. So I told him I'd like to take the summer to think about it. And I did. And he was very patient with me. And I went back and forth a lot that summer. Do I want to do this? Do I want to just keep freelancing? Because I started taking on freelance jobs during that time. And I think I was so afraid of the burnout that I had just come off of that it really took a long time for me to come to terms with such a big commitment again. But I decided, you know what, if I come back from my sabbatical and I do this, I'm not stuck in it. I always have the option of deciding it's not right for me and walking away. And thank God I didn't close the door on it, because I think it was one of the best career moves I ever made. We launched the company in November.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thanks. I actually came back from a 4-month sabbatical, September 6th, September 7th was day one, full-time with this team. And I've been super happy. There's three co-founders, and now we're a team of, I want to say 18, 19 people.
Wow,
now.
that's a fast growth.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
What's the product?
So the company is called Alfie, ALFII.
And why Alfie? I'm intrigued.
Yeah. I like this story. I can't take any credit for the name. It was something that Yusuf, my co-founder, came up with while I was on sabbatical, and he had to form the company and start all the paperwork.
He had something to do because he's waiting for you.
Yeah.
He's like, what should I do? Think of the company name.
So Yusuf is a huge Batman fan. Okay. And I actually don't know that much about Batman, but if anyone has seen it, you probably know the character called Alfred. He's Batman's...
I don't know Batman, sorry.
Butler.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Okay, so that Alfred, the butler, is the inspiration behind the name. And he's sort of like this character that he's not front and center. He's always behind the scenes, but he's always like the support system that enables Batman to do great things. So he's sort of like the guy behind the scenes doing everything.
It's like his family.
The support system. Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's what it stemmed from. And the company it's a tech company. We're building HR software.
Amazing.
For startups and SMEs. And it's sort of, I think the connection there is like this type of product would be the software or like the backbone that can help companies deliver better employee experiences. And this was also something, when I was deciding whether or not I wanted to move forward with this opportunity, I wasn't so sure I was that passionate about HR software. But then I thought back to other points in my career. Where was I most happy? okay, number one, Uber. That was my best career experience to date. And I wasn't necessarily that enthusiastic about ride sharing, but it was the people. It was the people and the culture that made me really happy there.
Mm.
So I didn't need to worry so much about whether I was crazy passionate about HR. But I was able to eventually kind of channel my past experience into a passion for this, because having been through a very bad employee experience, I could really get on board with something that would enable companies to make sure that doesn't happen for other people.
Every
So,
company needs an Alfie
yeah.
behind the scene.
I like that. And also
I do.
because it's so close to your heart and what you've experienced, then you can really put in the things that you believe and what can, so other people don't have to necessarily go through
Yeah, exactly.
your experience. That's so lovely.
And
Becky,
growing fast.
Yeah.
Really growing fast. So well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We have some news coming on in a few weeks with fundraising. So
Okay, amazing.
yes, hopefully you'll be
We
able
will
to
be
catch that
staying tuned.
announcement.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Only listening to you for however long we've been speaking, you have such a kind heart.
Yeah.
You are definitely someone that
Thank
gives
you.
back.
Yeah.
And
I
you
try.
definitely find the best in people. That's one thing I've learned about you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
You have a very
You're
good aura.
welcome. Yeah, you do.
Humble. You're grounded. Now
Thank you.
we ask all our guests on our podcast
Yes.
one question.
I love this part. I really like this part.
Is it the same question?
It's so
For
every
everyone?
guest
Okay.
gets the same question, but
Okay.
it's your answer. It's unique for
Yeah.
you. Is what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yes. This is an important one. And I actually want to open my notes. This is a
Go
part that you may need to cut out, but I want to articulate this well.
By the way, you do articulate yourself very well, especially you just got off a 14-hour flight. If that was me, I'd be like, blah, 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 blah.
I was so worried about being so tongue-tied and all of this. Okay. So kind of part one of this, I think the thing that I wish I had learned a long time ago is that being true to yourself is so much more important than being liked by everyone. So the thing that I wish I had learned long ago in life is that it matters a lot more to be true to yourself and true to your values than to be someone that is liked by everyone. And I think for such a large portion of my life, I used to worry about, maybe I was a people pleaser. I used to worry about being liked by everyone, being friends with everyone. And I would really spread myself so thin, just trying to be everything to everyone. And I really can't point to one thing that made me realize this was not the way to live. But I did eventually come to realize that I would much rather be true to who I am and have my small core group of people and have those relationships, really cultivate those relationships, than worrying about how many people like me or how
To please.
many people I have in my network and whether or not they like me or agree with what I'm doing or what I'm saying. And I kind of went through this process over the last couple of years of almost purging, not like kicking people out of my life, but just kind of letting them fall away and really prioritizing the people that mean a lot to me, the people that I love most. Because for too long, I was spreading myself so thin that I wasn't really nurturing those relationships. And I have been so much happier since I learned how to stop worrying about that, stop worrying about what people think and whether everybody likes me. I just want to be who I am. I want to say no to things that I really don't care about and say no to relationships or friendships that aren't really that near and dear to me so that I can focus on the people that really matter. And I think it's something that everybody needs to learn. And I wish I had learned it a lot earlier in my life. Yeah.
Do you know what? I can relate to that so much. I think I don't have favourites in the guests, but I think what you've just said is one of my favourite answers. I think everyone needs to learn that.
Yeah,
and you feel free when you do that, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. I feel like I have breathing room for myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just so much more able to show up for the people that I want to show up for.
Yeah.
Whereas I used to just feel I used to feel so guilty all the time because I had this going on or that going on, or like this commitment, or I had to spend time with this person that like really wasn't that important to me. And then kind of expecting that the people that I really love, they'll understand.
Yeah.
But after a while.
And the people who make you feel bad maybe or something are not your true friends and not your tribe.
Yeah.
So it's letting that go.
Yeah.
No, good for you, honestly.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
that is
I love that
special.
one.
Yeah, that's a big one to be, shouted about. And thank you
Good.
for being on our show, Becky. It's been
Thank
lovely
you guys so
having
much.
us. How can our listeners follow you? What's your socials?
Yeah, so my main platform is Instagram, and my handle is JetSetBacks, which I've learned in recent years that a lot of people don't know the term jet set. Like
Really?
they think that's my name.
Oh,
So I get messages. I get regular messages.
hi, Jet Set.
Like, hi Jet or Jetsy or just random stuff. But yeah, jet set is, for those of you listening, if you don't know what it means, it basically is a jet setter is someone who is traveling all the time, like hopping around from flight to flight, jet setting around the world. So that's where it comes from. But yeah, the handle is JetSetBacks. And I'm also on TikTok, but not super active with it. Same handle.
Perfect. And obviously
Yeah.
we'll tag you in all of our stories and all of our content that we've created today. And
Great.
for our listeners, if you don't follow us yet, please do. And we are _podxb on Instagram, TikTok, and you can also find us and The People of Dubai on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening and stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been such a fun experience.
Cool. Thank you.